identities being shown. So that's what we're looking at here. As soon as we
Black
get
and
somebody to hear their perspective on what they
this
felt
is why
in this case to make
when I argue with my Hebrew brothers and say we don't need to vote, we need to vote because of reasons like that. Or at least register to vote so you could be on the jury so you can help these brothers and sisters out there. You know what I mean? Fair-minded people in general, not just race, but especially us. You got to be registered voters.
And we're going to be referring you to by name. So if you could just give us your name before you speak. Number. Thank you. Your number. We're not using your name. Who would like to share first just how it was, your number and just your thoughts about the deliberations and how you came to this verdict?
The deliberations were, I think, they could have been better. We respected what each other said. When something, we let them ask their question. We worked with it until we all came to a consensus. And when that consensus was made, we all realized we made the right decision.
And how did you go about that? Did you deal with the murder charge first and then aggravated robbery?
We started with the murder first, and we had a little problem at first, but we talked about it.
What was the problem?
We wanted to decide whether we're going to go first degree or second. So, but we had to break everything down, and we talked among each other until we came to the conclusion.
What were the key factors in deciding on the second degree versus
The second degree was a mitigating factor that in Mr. VanDyke's mind, he was doing the right thing. He was experiencing an extreme threat. In his mind, that's how he was experiencing it, and he felt like he needed to protect himself.
Now, you convicted on second degree and all of the aggravated battery counts, but not official misconduct. Why?
Because we felt he had the right to carry the weapon, and he had the right to use his weapon because was a police officer. So he had the right. So we had to say not guilty on that if you looked at the case.
So right here, how would you explain?
A trained officer who'd been doing his work for about 20 years, that he should have realized what the situation was, and instead of escalating the situation, should have at least looked at other options. For example, just taking the time to back away, or just the patience to wait for other vehicles to get there, a vehicle with a taser specifically, that instead of escalating the situation.
The young man felt threatened. See, a lot of y'all don't see what happens.
Helped you with that decision. There were a lot of videos showing how that played into your decision.
Well, we kept watching the video where it showed that he kept making these steps forward.
Was that the animation or the dash cam video?
The dash cam. We watched that more than once, more than 3 times really. And the dash cam.
What was the most important evidence or witness that you John, that helped make the decision? What was the most important?
I would say Dr. Arukaman, was that her name? The medical examiner. Her.
And why?
Because she broke down every bullet, what it did, how it went in, which way it went in, how it came out. Or did it come out?
There was another pathologist that the defense put on the stand. What did you make of her?
Really didn't care for her. I thought she was kind of cocky. She didn't listen. She wanted to overtalk people.
And just the defense's argument in general, that difficult.
To me, he should have thought more carefully the situation, time in which that he got before he started shooting.
So did you, sorry, it just looked like you had something to say there.
No, basically the same thing. It's like he needed to contain the situation. not escalated.
He took the stand himself. What did you make of his? Okay, go ahead.
I felt he shouldn't have. He messed up. His testimony was incredible to me. I felt like he was trying to remember stuff that he said that maybe wasn't true. And he wanted to make sure he didn't trip himself up. So I didn't really feel his testimony was credible.
Same. 250. Right. Same. I didn't think he should have testified because he kept going from one question and he was answer this question, then he would go back and then he act like he didn't remember. He only remembered what he wanted to.
It felt like it was a rehearsed situation. And I didn't quite trust that.
And did, I know you were sequestered and not supposed to watch anything, but did any of you realize this was such a high-profile case, or how did you feel about being in such a high-profile case?
I had no idea that it was like this. I knew that we weren't supposed to talk to anyone, but to be escorted out and police patrol and
Well, we appreciate the safety we had with the sheriff. They did a good job protecting us every day.
It was a little more than I expected.
But what did you think about being on this high-profile case?
It was interesting. It'll be something that I'll talk about for a while.
Every morning I got on the bus and on the train and I saw hundreds and hundreds of my fellow Chicagoans and I thought, how did I get on this jury?
Right.
There are all these people and I'm doing this work and nobody knows it. It felt really amazing.
It felt like a burden or a privilege?
A privilege.
I almost threw my jury paper in the garbage though, because I wasn't coming.
What do you want to say about jury service?
It's the United States is really the only country that uses a jury system. So I felt privileged after I got here.
And there was concern by some outside, you probably didn't know because you weren't watching any news, but there was some concern about the jury makeup and the lack of diversity of the jurors. What would any of you say about jury service and whether you felt race or ethnicity played into this case?
I don't feel that it did until the end. The statement that was made at the end was wrong to me. The Boy Scout statement. I just didn't feel that was appropriate.
And this was Dan Herbert, the defense attorney.
I felt that was really inappropriate. We're past all of that. We didn't come here because of race, or we came here for right and wrong. That's all.
Did you guys consider the impact of what your decision was going to be outside the courtroom? Reaction among the public or acquittal or guilty verdict?
I do because I work in City Hall. So I just think about when I go back to work, how many people's going to approach me. Because in the newspaper, they told where I work. So everybody already in my job knew that it was me. So.
She's talking about retaliation and resentment and bitterness of women of color.
I did not consider that. I was aware of it. But it's like we're here to do this job with what the law is and what the prosecution and defense says. And I knew that was my job, and that's where I kept my focus.
What was the tone in the discussions when you were actually working with you?
We have spent 3 weeks with each other. We respect each other. We know each other by first name, not number. We're actually a very diverse group. Economically, socially, we're from all parts of Cook County, and we've learned to appreciate each other. And so we cooperated the entire time.
And you said you were just focused on this. Was there any thoughts beyond this about whether this could have an impact on other cases, relations between communities of color and peers? Did those thoughts either go through your head as in discussions?
I wasn't in the discussions. I'm a alternate.
But your thought about how this case could affect relations moving forward, would that come into your mind?
Not really.
This is about justice. In this case, it was about this instance and whether or not justice would be done here and whether or not we would relate with each other in a conciliatory, justice-like way. I believe we did both.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, and we're going to go to the audio portion only for the jurors who are willing to talk with us. I'm going to move over here. So we're in bars, but
so we want to take you there to the courtroom. You just heard from juror number 252, 243, and 245. They were okay with their faces being seen on television. The next jurors here, the 9 remaining jurors, would prefer that their identities.
So we're in audio only.
And I presumably these are the white
here by focusing in on this one particular chair.
and I'm assuming it's a Hispanic, but they said it was 4 Hispanic, 7 whites, and 1 black.
It sounded like
to share their
they knew
thoughts.
very early on that that would not
So
be
may we proceed?
one of the decisions that they would make. Now, let's listen in. They are about to start back up with the remaining jurors.
This is why I tell people, man, you gotta at least register to vote, man. At least to be on the jury.
The testimony, evidence that you saw. What was it that helped you reach your decision? The evidence or testimony?
Juror number 253, I think that the turning point for me was when he said, oh my God, we're gonna have to shoot this guy. And he said, why aren't they shooting him if he's attacking them? I think there was a pause. I think we all wrote down notes on that one, and I think that was kind of a changing point.
A lot of you were nodding and agreeing. Anyone else want to elaborate on those statements that I guess made police partner that night?
Was there anything else for folks that really stuck out for you and then helped you make your decision?
Juror 248. We watched the video many times, and it was stepping forward instead of retreating. I think we all pretty much thought that he could have avoided it if he had retreated and by stepping forward.
We was not stepping forward. I don't know what tape you guys were watching. He didn't even come within 10 feet from them. What are you talking about?
How are you feeling about the verdict? This is starting with them, but we want to hear how you're feeling about the verdict and whether it was something that was fairly easy to come to, or it sounds like there was some discussion.
Convicted felon Jason VanDyke.
A straw poll.
And mugshot.
Approached it was we did a blind vote.
He can no longer be a police officer ever again.
And the first vote
Oh, this
was
racist,
7
white
guilty,
supremacist cannot be.
3 undecided. We did guilty, not guilty, and undecided. So it was 7 guilty, 7 guilty, 2 not guilty, and 3 undecided. So we had a baseline for discussion, and then we moved on from there.
So there were a couple of people at first who thought leaning toward acquittal.
In our first, blind vote.
Getting some instruction from the judge about the types of questions we should
Talking about he was walking towards. I don't know what camera you guys were watching.
What
I saw it.
we get back to just.
I saw a 7.
The evidence you mentioned the video. We asked the other
Oh, boy, I
jurors.
tell you.
What do you think of Jason VanDyke, hearing from him in his own words?
Number 250. He seemed scared on the stand. Looked like you realized, he was taking his future in his own hands, and just seemed like, I really need to make this impact to do it. But at the same time, his fumbling around trying to remember things exactly how they were, and his memories and the facts and other evidence didn't line up.
249, I think going back to his testimony, it was rehearsed. He had a lot of I don't know, not only from what the questions he was being asked at that time, but he couldn't recollect the date right after when they interviewed him. So I just couldn't see how you could not remember that.
Yeah, and 253, sorry. I think what his initial report right after the shooting incident didn't line up with the videos. It seemed like he was just trying to cover himself up after that when he gave his report. And then the truth came out when the video was shown.
Joe 241, I agree with what everyone has been saying so far, that it seemed very rehearsed. It seemed kind of like he was finally giving the play after what they've been rehearsing with him for weeks. And personally, even though we're right here, I felt him staring at us, tried to win our sympathy in a way, I guess. And I think we all kind of felt the same way, even with that, like when we're still sitting here, we felt the same way about looking at each other and writing stuff down at the same time, that we just didn't buy it.
Juror 240, I also felt it was rehearsed. I felt like he took a pause to want to like tear up or cry. I did look down.
That's a bunch of bullshit when they just show. There was no way that boy was even nowhere near. In fact, when he pulled out, he was in front of the car. So I don't know what he's talking about.
I'm very interested to know what the discussion was like for first degree versus second degree. Why was second degree decision reached?
Because the white jurors was not going to let no white male that's a police officer be
his actions of the imminent and
That's
escalating
crazy.
risk and why he
I'm
took
done,
that
man.
action.
All right, I'm out.
But we did decide that taking the action